What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Studying Cinema with Cozy. I'm your host, Jamal Hollywood, and today we will be discussing Disney's most recent film to come out in theaters, The Little Mermaid, starring Hailey Bailey. So to start off, I do want to note that I haven't seen, the animated version of The Little Mermaid. I didn't watch the original version, but I am familiar with certain songs, characters, and the storyline overall when it comes to the original adaptation. With that being said, I was going into this movie unbiased when it came to the original story and, just the characters and overall how they depicted the original film and, being biased with my opinion as far as comparing it to this film. Overall, I do feel like the movie was a great movie. I would personally rate it an 8 out of 10 for my movie-going experience. Like I said, it's totally unbiased in regards to, Disney and, their adaptation with this character through movies and books. I do feel like the casting of Hailey Bailey was perfect for the role. I do feel like between the acting and the singing, she held her weight as far as, giving everything she had to those realms with this role. Overall, I do feel like Hailey Bailey was the perfect choice to play Ariel. I know there was a lot of controversy because she was a black actress being casted as the role of Ariel, who is known as a white woman, I guess, through her depiction in the animated film and in the book. Despite any race or any politics behind this film, I do feel like Hailey Bailey, as the actress and performer that she is, was the perfect choice for this type of role. She does give off the Disney charm with her acting skills and her singing ability, and she fits the mold of the character very well as far as the story and the characterization of Ariel. When it comes to the sea world and the real world, I feel like there's a great balance between those two worlds and bringing as much realism as possible to the underwater life. A lot of the characters that were depicted in the animated film, such as the sea creatures, they obviously had an advantage with those characters in the animated film because of the expression and emotion that they were able to convey through these characters. That element of the film isn't as strong in the live action film as it is in the original, but it doesn't take away from the overall experience that you have watching this film. I personally feel like with everything they have going on in this film, it's still a great balance between, the real world, the sea world, the CGI characters, and the real life characters. I do feel like Disney did as a good of a job as they could as far as balancing those elements and, doing everything that they can do to make the live action movie a lot more grand than the animated movie originally was. When it comes to these songs and the performances that were given through these songs, I feel like they did a great job as far as the, singing ability of these actors and actresses and just, bringing the liveliness of these songs to the big screen and allowing the special effects team to have free will almost when it comes to the different elements and color schemes that they were able to play with through these performances. Whether it was Ursula singing her song or Ariel singing the numerous songs that she has in the film, I feel like everything flowed very well. Even when it comes to the point of Ariel losing her voice, throughout the time that she loses her voice in the movie, it's still made up by her singing, which is represented through her thoughts. She's still singing about everything that is going on around her and the things that she's seeing, but she's not, voicing it in real life. She's just, singing it in her head. And, they still play off those scenes very well as far as having, the catchy music in the background and allowing the dialogue through these songs to kind of tell the story of what we're seeing. I do feel like the one element that they could have played on a little bit more was just showing how Ariel became more and more adjusted to the real world and her fascination for it once she became a mortal human. I feel like they could have, dug a little deeper into, how she was able to process everything that was going on around her and how she was able to fully, digest everything that she was taking in. She had to learn what the food was, what certain utensils were used for, just the process of living an everyday life on land versus as a mermaid. So I feel like that's one thing that they could have, dove into a little bit more. Those scenes mainly consisted of Ariel not being able to talk and really express herself fully. So there was a battle when it came to, how far they could go with that realm. But the songs that they used to make up for the dialogue, it suited the scene and the vibe of those scenes very well to kind of, give us something from Ariel's perspective. As far as the overall performance of Haley Bailey, I feel like, she held her own. She carries the movie very well. Throughout the whole film, you see the emotions that she has to battle with, her relationship with her father, the emotions that she has to battle with, the relationship that she is trying to pursue with the prince, and also the complicated relationship that she has with Ursula as far as making a deal with her to be able to even have access to the land. You see the different emotions and the stakes throughout this movie, and not knowing or not really seeing the original film all the way through, it makes it entertaining to be able to, see the Little Mermaid story for the first time in this format, being that all of the characters are immersive and all of the, story elements are expounded upon because it is live action. Although, like I said, there were limitations when it came to depicting certain characters rightfully, and just, letting the expressions of the sea creature characters being fully conveyed. I know they try to stick to the realism elements and try to have the characters that were the sea creatures, still depicted as real life animals with the ability to talk and everything. But when it comes to live action films, I know that Disney, it struggles with that element as far as taking characters that are either animals or just supernatural type of characters and allowing their full expression and emotions to be conveyed in a live action film, all while sticking to as much realism as possible. With The Little Mermaid, I do feel like there was a good balance with those two, elements as far as, realism and then the cartoony element of it. For what it was, I do feel like this is one of the better live action Disney films that has came out. I know it will be one of the better received ones because of the performance of Haley Bailey and the overall flow of the story. The one complaint I do have is the runtime of the film, because I do feel like personally they kind of stretched the film for as long as they could, having it go over 2 hours. But the basic story of Little Mermaid doesn't need to take over 2 hours to tell. There were certain, elements of this movie that kind of, like I said, got expounded on because of the live action element. And it did allow for, deeper dialogue and, more characters to be fleshed out fully. And I feel like, when you take that into consideration, the runtime doesn't really bother you as much. It may bother, some average moviegoers who are looking to just see the original adaptation of the Little Mermaid story, but just told on a, live action scale. But regardless of the Disney element, I do feel like the movie overall is a good movie that can stand alone on its own. It does make you question whether or not they should have or can take a character, an original character, whether it's of Black descent, Indian descent, or Asian descent, and just come up with more new original storylines and content. That way there won't have to be, controversy or backlash or unwarranted commentary targeted towards the actors, actresses, or any of the filmmakers participating in these films. Like I said, there was a lot of backlash when it came to Ariel being casted as, it was a lot of backlash when it came to Haley Bailey being casted as Ariel, although I think that she was the perfect fit for the role. There's a certain realm in this world where certain people aren't gonna be happy with what they see in that regard. But my personal stance on it is that characters such as the Little Mermaid do not need to stay categorized to a specific race. Characters that are, more so catered to having a cultural background, such as Mulan or Pocahontas, I feel like those characters are catered towards a specific race versus characters like the Little Mermaid, whose background doesn't have any ties to any specific cultural or specific native or racial background. Characters such as the Little Mermaid should be open up to any race for anybody to feel like they could be represented through that character. And I feel like that is the element of, that controversy that people aren't really acknowledging. When it comes to, characters like Black Panther and characters that are represented by Black actors and Black actresses, a lot of them have to do with, cultural background, whether they're African descent or characters that come from certain Black communities within America or around the world. So experimenting with different races when it comes to certain Disney characters should not be an issue. It should be something that, can be played with a little bit more. And as long as it's done with respect and, cater to the character and the story, I feel like there shouldn't be any issue with that. So moving forward, I do feel like Disney should do more of these films and allow actors and actresses of all backgrounds to have the ability to have a fair shot at, landing these roles. Hailey Bailey proved that, despite the race, she can perform as this character with the singing ability and the acting ability. And there, honestly, in my eyes, isn't any other actor or actress that I could see playing Ariel at this very moment with all of the abilities that Hailey Bailey has under her belt. As far as the future goes for Disney and these types of movies, I do feel like they, like I said, should do more of these movies and keep the doors open to different actors and actresses. And I do feel like, personally, Hailey Bailey is on a rise when it comes to stepping into the acting world. This movie, along with the new Color Purple movie that will come out soon, will be two movies that will be, heavy hitters under her belt. And as far as I know, she does play a prominent role in the Color Purple movie for a good part of it. So her acting ability, as far as, more reality-based stories will be, experimented with within this film. I do feel like as far as the fantasy, sci-fi roles, as long as she's casted in the right role, she could perform to her best ability. These Disney roles are more so catered to her because of the charm that she has within her singing and acting. You see it with her eyes and how she kind of just exudes off the innocence that the Disney characters embrace. And I feel like that specific charm that she has within her own right and her own art skills is, expressed fully within these Disney films. I feel like that's a big part of the reason why she was perfectly casted as Ariel. She does have a lot of charm that's brought out with this role, and I do feel like she's one of the few actresses that I could see, being a recurrent casted person in these type of Disney features. As far as the other characters are concerned, I feel like everybody else held their weight with their character. I do feel like the Prince, King Trident, the Queen, everybody that was casted for these roles showed exactly why they were casted for these roles. I can't necessarily say I have a complaint with anyone's performance in this movie. I feel like overall, everyone was perfectly casted. The singing from everybody in this movie was where it needed to be. And with that being said, I do want to say Melissa McCarthy did do a good job as Ursula. I personally did not expect that casting, and I didn't know necessarily how the casting would go. I know Disney has, casted people like Will Smith to play Aladdin, and it worked out very well. So I wasn't too skeptical as far as her performance, but I just personally never thought that she would be the one casted as Ursula. It turns out that she was, one of the people that were perfectly casted to play this role, because everything that Ursula is in the original film, the dramatization of her character, and the flow of her character is depicted perfectly well with Melissa McCarthy's performance. Her singing, her acting is all there to make you believe her as Ursula. And I feel like she does play a good yin to the yang of Ariel, with both actresses bringing out the most personality that they can within these characters, and allowing them to, balance off of each other as far as the darkness and the light within the movie. It played off very well. And all of the beats in this movie flow very well. There are very few moments in this film where they kind of, slow it down to a point where you could kind of disinterest yourself a little bit. But with all of the singing and the colors that are thrown at you in certain scenes, it's kind of hard to just check out from this film. Like I said, the only complaint I have about this film is the runtime. I feel like children especially might start to, get a little disinterested because of the 2-hour runtime, but the singing and the story and the colors, the animation, everything within this film is conveyed in a way to keep you interested and to keep you wanting more, whether it's from Ursula, whether it's from Ariel, whether it's from King Triton. Every character gives their all, and it kind of makes you want to see the next character pop up on the screen so that you can see more of that character. And with this being a live action film, I feel like that's where they, did some of the best work with this film, is the character development and just allowing the actors to take their time with the characters, and for us to really feel the emotions and everything that these characters are exuding. From the, little facial expressions to the dialogue to the reactions that these characters have talking to other characters, everything is kind of rolled out the right way for you to feel everything the way you need to feel it. Other than the sea creatures that are limited with their expressions, every other character is expressive to the fullest ability, and it allows for the film to be believable, even though it is a fantasy film, and we are, suspending our belief for the Disney world that we are stepping into. Overall, the movie is a solid movie to me. It's a perfect movie to go out on a date to. It's a perfect movie to take your family to. Overall, it's a very family-friendly movie that I feel like deserves to be seen, especially in support of Haley Bailey and her acting career as she starts to step into that world. I feel like more and more people should, look at her as potentially one of the next biggest young stars that could come out of, Hollywood, especially for the Black audience, with all of her artistic abilities that she has and matching it with her acting abilities. I feel like her career could go very far in that regard. Overall, solid movie, 8 out of 10 review for me. If you have children, take them to see it. If you have a girlfriend that is interested in old school Disney movies, take her to see it. It's a fun time if you're looking for something to, see this weekend that isn't too dark or gritty like some of the movies that has been coming out over these past couple of years. This is, one of the more lighthearted movies that I feel like Disney hit home on when it comes to the live action adaptation. And based off of this movie's performance, I'm pretty sure we will start seeing a lot more of these live action adaptations, especially with certain characters that can be depicted by any race, such as the Little Mermaid. With that being said, I do want to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of Studying Cinema with Cozy. I do want you guys to know that I am working on getting a Snowfall series review out for you guys. I am going to be talking about the whole series from front to back, studying the characters each season and the development all the way up until the end. So that's one video that you guys can expect in the near future. I'm going to be trying to get these movie reviews out to you as consistently as possible, whether it's one time a week or twice a week. We're going to be, hitting home, hitting hard with these movie reviews. I know that you guys have been supporting them, have been enjoying them. So I want to thank you guys for that. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram at Cozy Candids. Follow me on Instagram at Jamal Hollywood. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for, weekly content. And I want to thank you guys again for all the support. Shout out Vibes Kitchen, you feel me?